Today I'm going to do a slightly different video and I'm going to be answering your bookish assumptions about me. This is inspired by the quickfire assumptions video that's going around YouTube, and I wanted to do my own version, so here I am. And Ben has been collating some questions or assumptions from Instagram and YouTube, and he's going to ask me them. He's just behind the camera, and I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible with minimal editing, which will be hard because I talk a lot and make a lot of mistakes. Ben, go.
You like to read on the bus/train.
I guess so. I do. We do travel by train quite a bit, and I do read on the train, but I don't necessarily go out of my way to read on buses or trains.
The majority of the books you read are by European or American authors.
Yes. My reading is horribly undiverse, and I'm very aware of that. And yes, they are mainly kind of UK and American writers.
You met your soon-to-be husband in a library or a book-related situation.
People know this. People know this story. We met at university studying literature, and we did have one of our very first dates in the university library. Accidentally though, but yeah, technically did meet in a bookish scenario. We also went to Waterstones on our very first proper date as well.
Yeah, we met some of Claire's fans.
My fans.
I had no idea Claire did booktube at the time. It was very weird to have a German lady want to take photos. You prefer stream of conscious and emotion/thought-driven books over action/conversation-driven ones.
Yes, I love interior novels and I love emotion-led novels. I do love conversation though, but yeah, inside novels.
You like to read books in their appropriate seasons.
Yes, this is a big problem with me. I still haven't read Winter by Ali Smith because I keep missing winter and I just don't read it, and now I can't read it again until winter. So, big problem.
You're a slow reader.
Yes, I'm also just very distractible, so I'm not necessarily like a slow reader when I'm reading, but God, to get me reading and to actually get me not getting distracted by a million different things is hard. So yeah, that's why I'm so too distractible.
You struggle reading classics for fun, though you thoroughly enjoy a lot of them.
No, I don't struggle. I love reading classics. No, I don't. They're like what I choose to read a lot of the time, so there's no struggle involved, normally. Sometimes they can be challenging, but I love reading them.
You read more classics than any other kind of book.
Probably, I mean, maybe not as much anymore in the like more recent months, but I did go for like a period of what, like 4 or 5 years of just reading classics.
You don't like sci-fi.
I don't really know anything about sci-fi. I don't really feel like I have a valid opinion on sci-fi because I've never read any. Don't think I've ever watched any sci-fi either, really. So yeah, I guess I don't really like it because I haven't watched it or read it.
You like romantic novels more than crime novel thrillers.
I'm a sucker for a love story. I love love stories. I love true crime, but I don't tend to read crime fiction.
You never reread books.
No, I do reread books. I reread books a lot. I mean, especially classics and, you know, like my favourite books. I've read Mrs. Dalloway like 20 times.
You're frustrated that your work means you have to pick London over York.
I know this has come about because I was like slightly mean about London in a video, but no, I love living in London. Right now, I wouldn't pick another city to live in. I would love to move back to York or to move back up north, but I think right now I wouldn't want to leave London. It's an amazing city, and I love it equally, I think, to York, but just in a very different way.
You always knew you'd end up in publishing.
No, never. It's a happy accident. It was never what I wanted to do, and it was never on my life plan.
You love reading classics, but you don't read as much of them as you want to.
I do love reading classics. This is going to be a general theme, isn't it? Half of them are going to be about classics.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. I do like reading them. What was the question? Sorry.
You love reading classics, but you don't read as many of them as you want to.
There's no quota anymore. Now I'm not... Ben's playing with Lego, if you can hear that. There's no quota anymore, so...
I was actually playing with your landscape.
Still fidgeting, Ben. There's no quota anymore. I'm not at university, therefore I feel like I can read whatever I want to read. If I want to read more classics, I'll read more classics. I would love to read more classics, but not at expense of not reading other novels. I don't know. Next question. I'm not making any sense anymore.
You like poems more than other genres?
I like poems more... No, I don't like poems more than other genres. I like poetry, but I love novels.
You only read a certain theme if it's written by an expert, aka history books by historians.
Yes, I guess so. Don't a lot of people? I have a lot of respect for academics and academia, so I love academic people and I like reading books by, you know, a historian if they're talking about history. I think reading a book by someone who is knowledgeable and passionate makes a book, but I thought it was kind of normal.
You feel slightly intimidated by very long books.
No, I guess sometimes I'm thinking, God, like, this is a commitment. I better be ready. I better really want to read this book. But I love a chunky book.
You can read while walking.
I have done. I read probably on my way to like seminars when I was in my first year of university, but just ended up looking like a twat.
You prefer reading in an environment full of strangers rather than one with people you know.
Probably just because I'm a very distractible person, and if I'm in a room with people I know, I will be talking or getting distracted by what they're doing. So I do get distracted by strangers, but probably I don't talk to strangers. Apparently you're not supposed to do that. I learned that the hard way.
You skip pages of the story when you're bored.
No. You
tend to have friends that are in love with books as you are.
Yes, my high school friends, my very first friends, not necessarily, but now a majority of my friends I met through like booktube and bookstagram and publishing, so very bookish situations, therefore very bookish people.
You prefer hardbacks over paperbacks?
Paperbacks. I do buy hardbacks, especially if I can't wait for the paperback, and sometimes hardbacks are beautifully designed, but majority of the time I just love a really good paperback. My favourite type of book to read is paperback.
You would like to do a PhD?
Maybe. Sometimes I say yes, but then I think in reality it's a tough life. So I think if I had a dream life and someone would pay for it, then yes. But I think I would just like to go back to university in some form. I maybe do another MA, maybe in history. But yeah, the PhD is a big question mark for me.
You're very shy and introvert in general.
Yeah, I can be shy. I have anxiety, so I think actually if I didn't have an anxiety disorder, I'd probably be more extroverted, because I'm quite anxious in general around people. But I'm also very, very chatty and very, very talkative, and probably a bit too much, arguably. Ben's smiling at me. And I'm also the person in the friend group who wants to make everybody laugh, which I think is naturally maybe a more extrovert trait.
You've read a lot of classics.
Yes, I guess so. People will, there'll be loads of people in this world who've read way more than me. But yeah, I guess I have. You
know everything about Virginia Woolf.
I am Virginia Woolf.
You achieved all or mostly firsts throughout university.
I achieved, I think, oh God, it feels like a long time ago now, I'm getting old. I achieved mostly top 2 ones and firsts. I'm not necessarily a naturally academic person who can just get first on everything. I still find university quite challenging, but I did quite well. I was solidly good at university, I think.
So here's one that's been asked by a lot of people, so I'm rolling them all into one question.
Okay.
You prefer short books over longer ones?
No, I really love a long book now. I think maybe years ago I used to prefer short books, but actually I'm probably leaning to like a good chunky book now.
Your favourite subgenre of Victorian literature is the Gothic, sparkly star emojis.
No, my favourite kind of subgenre, I guess, is actually realism. I love Victorian social novels. That's what I did my MA on. That's my passion. I love books about kind of industrial revolution and what have you. So actually, I love the Gothic, but it is definitely not my favourite.
You have gifted a lot of books to your friends.
I've gifted a lot of books to my mum and Ben's mum, occasionally my friends, but the 2 mums are the main people who get my books.
You don't care that much about keeping your books in perfect condition, and you write down notes or other things in them.
Some books I like to keep in perfect condition, but mostly I love annotating. I tend to annotate over pencil. I don't like it when a book is like bent, when the cover gets all bent and mangled. I hate that. If I do that to my book, I can kind of get over it, but I'd be a bit upset if someone else did it. But majority of the time, I am quite liberal. I think I dog ear, do loads of things to them.
You weren't a child reader, but if you were, which was your favourite book?
I was a massive child reader. I was the kid who was always trying to kind of you had the library limit. I was always just wanting to go over the library limit.
Nerd.
What? I am a nerd. I always had a massive pile of books, and it was always majority history books actually. But yeah, I definitely was a child reader. My favourite writers, don't know if I can pick a favourite book, was probably Jacqueline Wilson. I love Jacqueline Wilson, and actually my politics now and a lot of the novels I find interesting, going back to, like, you know, Victorian social novels. All of that interest comes from Jacqueline Wilson.
You like to read several books at once.
Yeah, people know this. They watch my videos. If you watch one reading vlog, you know that I'm talking about like 5 different books at once.
You love to read fiction novels, but have never tried writing one yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wrote stuff as a kid, but I really have no interest in writing a novel of my own.
You secretly like fantasy, but only if it's a bit literary.
I love the only if it's a bit literary added onto that assumption. No, I mean, if I loved something, I would not keep it a secret. Trust me, I would be talking about it all the time. It'd probably be a lot easier on like BookTube if I was into fantasy as well. My partner is a massive geek, or my friend's a massive geek, so I miss a lot of conversations by not being massively into fantasy. So no, I don't really read fantasy that much, but I have a lot of respect for it, and I would love to learn more about it and maybe read some of it. But no, I don't have a secret love. It'd be on the channel if I did.
You feel obliged to read classics over contemporary literature.
No, the other way around. I feel so much, I say so much pressure. I feel more pressure to read contemporary literature, especially working in publishing and being on the internet. Especially on the internet, there's pressure to be talking about the books that are out now or coming out, and that is definitely where I feel more obliged to read. I just love reading classics and definitely feel more obliged to read contemporary over them.
You would rather read only Virginia Woolf forever than not be allowed to read her for the rest of your life.
Okay, I think I would rather not read Virginia Woolf. I've read Virginia Woolf and I love her, but there are so many more authors that I would love to read. I would say goodbye to Virginia Woolf in this scenario.
When you read historical novels, you only read English history.
Yes, again, my reading isn't very diverse and I'm kind of ashamed of that. When I read historical novels, there are particular time periods and settings that I'm interested in, and a lot of them are very English. Are you sneezing?
I'm trying not to.
A lot of the history that I read is like British history. I often read about the Tudors, the 18th century, especially 18th century London, the 19th century, the English Industrial Revolution and trade union movement, and also the Second World War, which again is kind of often UK and Europe focus. So yeah, very, very English.
You prefer physical books over e-readers.
I love the physical object that a book is. I love the physicality of it. I love the design, and I love physical books. But I also love reading ebooks. I have a problem where I often sometimes buy a book, or if I get given a physical book, sometimes I might go buy the ebook version for me to actually read. I don't know why, I just really love reading on an e-reader. But I think if I had to choose, I would obviously have to pick a paperback because they're beautiful and I love them.
You buy books one at a time rather than in hauls.
Yes, one at a time, mainly just because books are expensive and I don't have much disposable income, so it's quite rare that I buy more than one book at a time, yeah.
You prefer covers with illustrations over photography.
Oh god, it depends what kind of illustration or photography it is. Like if it's shit, I will just pick whichever one isn't shit. I think at the moment, publishing is definitely going to more illustration, and I don't know about you, but I'm seeing that a lot more in books. A lot of the books that I've been buying recently have got illustrative covers, but I really love like the Penguin Modern Classics photography. I love that, and the Vintage Classics photography versions. So I think it really depends on the book and also just on the illustration or the photograph. I don't know, either one. I'll take a book, whichever design.
You think more people should read classics?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think there are a lot of classics that I really love and therefore would love people to read. I don't necessarily think I want people to read classics over other types of literature. I think there's been a lot of snobbishness around classics and how they are the best type of literature, which actually I don't think is very true. So I'd actually like to move away from that and actually just get people to read what they want to read and not be ashamed of what they're reading as well. I also think with classics and the literary canon, it has been prescribed to people by, you know, white middle class people from the beginning of history, like people like me. So I think it's time for people like me to sit down and stop telling people what to read and instead actually just inspire them to pick up a book, whatever that is, and to love it and talk about it.
You're not one who reads 100 books a year.
No, I don't think I've ever done that. Slow reader, distractible reader.
You don't care about spoilers since you like classics a lot.
I'm not that fussed about spoilers. I like to watch the films or TV shows of books that I read, so I often do tend to know the plot. But I wouldn't go out of my way to avoid them or to find them. Again, it depends on the book.
One day you'll write a paper or book about Virginia Woolf.
No, I have no interest. I mean, maybe after this I will go away and go and write something on Virginia Woolf, but I actually don't have, like, my academic interest isn't Virginia Woolf. I did my BA on Virginia Woolf and I documented that a lot on my channel. Majority of stuff, like my academic interest, is actually in the Victorian era, in Victorian social novels. I think if I was to write a paper, it would be on those social novels or about historical fiction and our relationship to the Victorian age. That is what I would like to write on, not Virginia Woolf. Controversial.
Final question.
Final
assumption.
Last
Even
one.
if you're a socialist, you like reading fiction about the upper classes.
I am a socialist. I'm very, very left-wing. And I do like reading about the upper class and the middle class in particular, but I don't like the kind of literature where it's like, oh, my lord was so kind, and like the servant just loves and has this like massive loyalty to the upper classes, and we're expected that's normal. I kind of like when novels actually really critique the upper class and critique the social hierarchy, especially in the UK, in England, and actually challenge capitalism and the bourgeoisie. That's why I like books like Howard's End and even kind of Brideshead Revisited, because they do that really, really well. But yes, I do like reading and like watching period dramas. Like, it's all upper class and middle class people, and I love that life, and it does make me feel very, very strange as a person who, would love to bring the guillotine out but also loves reading about Marie Antoinette and the Queen in Buttercup Yellow, even though I don't believe we should have a monarchy. Confusion. Thank you, Ben, for asking me the assumptions. What have you made now?
Nothing.
Ben's making things out of Lego. Every time I look over, there's something new that's being built. We currently have an oil pump being made.
It's an oil jack pump.
And he's also made a vernacular railway, and he's going to make a camper van. Camper van? Can't speak.
Little VW camper van.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope this video maybe busted some assumptions you had about me. If you have any assumptions about me that I didn't answer, leave them in the comments and we'll have a chat. But for now, I hope you are all well, keeping safe, and I'll see you again in another video.